Okay, this is a little different off take on reviews. I'm reviewing more or less the fiber itself, and the fiber that I have in mind today is alpaca. Alpaca is a really good fabric for outdoor use. This is an alpaca knit sweater, and this is a relatively light knit. It's a great layer if you're in temperatures maybe down into the 40s Fahrenheit. It doesn't stop wind, so if you want to stop wind, you'd have to use a different type of fiber. The felted alpaca works pretty good for stopping wind, but not as good as a thin shell. This is probably one of the best mid layers that you could possibly get, and I'll tell you why. The alpaca fiber is very warm. It's supposedly only outperformed by polar bear in natural fibers for warmth. And everybody will immediately jump to down. Well, down's more, yeah, for the weight, down is warmer by volume, by weight. Let's just not go to the volume. That's a different question. The problem with down is that it has to be the smaller problem with it is that it has to be bunched up into a nylon or polyester or something. I mean, you could put it into any type of other fabric, but most of the fabrics it's put in, like puffy jackets, are synthetics, and they trap moisture, and they don't breathe that well. And the most important downfall of it is that it does not perform when it gets wet. It doesn't work at all. So down is not good if you might get wet, like if you're going to be out on the trail or camping for a long period of time and you don't have any way to get to shelter. Whereas wool maintains insulating properties, and alpaca even better than wool, even when it gets wet. Now, alpaca, the reason that it works, that it's warmer than wool, and that it works better as a mid layer, is that it has a very fine fabric, between 14 microns and 20 microns for the top quality alpaca, and it has air pockets in the fabric. A lot of people think it's hollow, but it isn't hollow. It just has micro air pockets, which yields a lower weight. So it's actually 1/3 lighter than wool, and it keeps you warmer than wool. And you'd ask, well, why is this not everywhere? Why doesn't everybody use it? Well, it's pretty expensive, because alpacas, if you get the high altitude ones, which perform the best because they live in a high altitude environment, they mostly come from the Andes in Peru, and so it's quite expensive. It's multiples of what merino wool costs, the raw material, and it's probably hard to ramp it up to a really high production level. But you can find alpaca online, and there's a couple of companies that import it, Arms of Andes and Paca and Peruvian Connection. This is a Daniel Cremot, and this is 100% alpaca, which I came into possession of from somebody that was selling it. It's not, I didn't buy it at the store, so I can't tell you how much this costs retail. But this is a really light weave. As you can see, you could probably, you can see through it right there. But this is extremely warm and it's very light. It's quite a light sweater, and you could wrap it around your waist or whatever. The zipper comes down a long ways, so you can vent. And then here's a little bit heavier sweater, which has a similar, but it's a double layer up at the neck, the mock neck or whatever they do call that, and then at the cuffs. So it really does a great job of keeping your neck warm, and also giving you the ability to ventilate a little bit, and then down by your hands, keep the wind from blowing up and along the base at the waist. You can see this is a heavier knit than the other sweater. But these are both excellent for hiking or outdoors, whatever you're doing. This one is Peruvian Link, the manufacturer of it, also 100% alpaca. And if you want the higher quality, normally when it says Royal Alpaca, that's going to be the best, the A grade or the finest quality, which means the smallest fiber when it comes to alpaca. So you look for Royal Alpaca, that's desirable, and that should be down closer to that 14 micron size level. One of the greatest things about alpaca is that it evacuates moisture much better than other wools, and it even evacuates moisture better than most synthetics. There's some synthetics that do a pretty good job of it, but as we all know, they start stinking really, really badly, really early if you use them over and over again. Whereas alpaca doesn't really smell at all. Doesn't matter. You can get smelly, but when you take the alpaca off and air it out, it smells fine. It just doesn't pick up scents and things like that, which is a really great additional thing, because when you're camping or out on the trail for a long period of time, you don't have the ability to shower a lot of the time. You start smelling, and it's really, it's distracting, and nobody else likes it either. So anyways, so that these qualities of alpaca make it just an ideal outdoor fabric, and probably one of the best things that you can wear out on the trail and have for, you want to feel that you're not going to get into trouble if you get rained on or get wet or fall into a stream. And alpaca is one of the best things possible, along with a hard shell, something that doesn't absorb water, like maybe a Gore-Tex hard shell or something else, treated nylon or polyester that's treated with a waterproof fabric. That'll keep the wind off of you. This will keep you warm even if it's wet. So, and you can get it pretty dry. It also doesn't hold as much water as wool. Wool holds about 30% of its weight in water. Alpaca only holds about 10%. So it's 3 times better than wool as far as how much water it'll hold. But even when it is wet, it still keeps you warmer than any other fabric. Like I said, other than polar bear, which you're not going to shear a polar bear unless you want to get eaten. So anyways, this is a great choice for all the above. Just probably one of the best things that you can get for outdoors. So track down some alpaca used, or you can find it on eBay and other services, Poshmark, whatever. So there's other advantages to it too. It's actually very, very soft and supple, and it's comparable to they say to cashmere in the feel. A lot of people claim it's softer than cashmere. To me, it feels about the same, because I have some cashmere too. I love cashmere. It's very soft, but cashmere is not durable. It doesn't have the other properties of alpaca. That's why they don't usually make garments out of pure cashmere, because it's not very durable. And that's another big advantage of alpaca. Alpaca is more durable than all of the other natural fibers, such as cashmere, silk, and wool. It's actually a more durable fabric, they say. I haven't seen an abrasion test of it compared to a similar or equal weight weave of those other fabrics, but it's said that it's more durable as well. And the feel is very nice, and also not as likely to cause problems with people that are allergic to wool, because alpacas don't have any lanolin, which is what most people, the oil lanolin is what most people that are allergic to wool, that's what they're allergic to. So you don't have that in alpaca, and that makes it a much better choice, much less likely that you're going to have allergic reaction to it. And that, between that and the soft feel, I'm not going to say that alpaca isn't prickly at all. It feels slightly prickly, like maybe it's about the same as a good quality merino wool. but it doesn't have a lanolin. So you don't even, they try to acid wash merino wool to get the scales off the fibers, which is what makes it prickly, and they to get the lanolin out of it. And this, the reason that alpaca is not as prickly is because it doesn't have these scales on the actual fibers, which I'd have to show an illustration of that, such as wool does. So it doesn't feel, it's really a hair. It's not so much of a wool. And then there's actually two different types of alpacas too. There's one that's called a Huacaya and another that's called a Suri. And the Suri has a really draped. A draping fabric that's not very common. It's only 10 to 20% of all alpacas. It's more expensive. It looks more like silk. It has a sheen to it, and it's not generally used for sweaters and things like that. I haven't seen a garment that was certified as 100% Suri, so I can't show you an example of that, but I'll try to track one down. Anyways, because of the way the fibers are naturally built by the alpacas, they also don't stain very easily, and they shed moisture, they shed smells very easily. Nothing really sticks to alpaca fibers because they don't have those scales, and so you can just shake it out if it smells slightly stinky, and it pretty much will smell fine. It just doesn't. You'll notice it smells, when it's really dirty, it smells like dirt. That's it. It doesn't smell like body odor. So that is a really nice feature of it as well. Not to mention it comes in about, they say between 16 and 22 natural colors that are in the gray, beige, almost light beige, almost white, and then a true black as well. So everything in the gray and the brown beige spectrum in as dark as black, it comes in naturally, which is also a great thing about it. And it doesn't mat or pill like wool and cashmere does. It really does a great job of that. Now, it also is felted, and you can I have some felted coats, a vest and a coat that are felted, and I'll show you those in a different video. But here's one other example of it, which is a sweater. This one is from Yari Artisanias, which is, these are actually made in Ecuador, but this is a really heavy and very warm sweater made with it, and it has a great neck, and it's got some pockets. I mean, the other ones don't have any pockets. It's full zip and doesn't have any lining, which is great because it keeps the weight down, and it's so comfortable. You can wear this without a shirt. It's very, very comfortable, and as you can see, it just looks cozy. It is cozy. It's actually too warm this is about as much pilling as you'll see on a alpaca, which is not very much. So, and this is because this is a really, this knit, I don't know what they call this style of knit, but it's very furry, so you expect a little bit of pilling with that type, whereas that wouldn't happen with these other two types. And this is so warm that you would bring this. It's a little heavy for like backpacking or hiking, but if you really wanted to be protected, you would bring this, something like this, in your gear, because you'd want to have something that you could get wet and you could keep and wear even if it got cold outside and you got wet. So wear this underneath your Gore-Tex, you would be good to well below freezing. And you can see it does a pretty good job of compressing. I wouldn't say it's great, but this thick of a weave, but it's not very heavy. I mean, the wool, this of course would be 3 times as expensive, or 3 times as heavy. This one is much thinner and is a great base layer, probably down to freezing, as long as you're wearing it under like a waterproof jacket or Gore-Tex if you're moving around and you need to evacuate moisture. This is going to be a great addition for that type of use. So this one This one I've taken, it's milder where I live, so I've taken this hiking many times. And see, this is really compact, and that'll keep you nice and warm as long as you're not going to be well below freezing temperatures, and you're wearing it under a wind protection of some sort. But that's just a kind of an intro to alpaca, and a strong recommendation to look for some alpaca as at least your mid layer, and then get something that doesn't hold moisture to wear underneath that. Of course, not cotton, anything else, which if you have to get rid of it because it starts smelling, you can just take it off and wear the alpaca mid layer directly on your skin, which is not really true with wool. Anyways, I'll make another video or 2 or 4 about alpaca, and when I can think of some more things to tell you about it. Hopefully you enjoyed and learned something. Subscribe and like the video if so, and we'll talk to you later.